All right, let's get into it. Every so often, a movie comes out that's just more than a movie. It becomes a genuine cultural event. And that is exactly what's happened with Ryan Coogler's Sinners. So today, we're going to peel back the layers of this thing and figure out how one of the weirdest films of the year became one of the biggest.
I mean, right out of the gate, the reviews were just unreal. Critics everywhere, from all corners, were basically shouting from the rooftops that this was a masterpiece. But the really interesting part is why. See, this is not your typical prestige drama, and to really get why it's so powerful, you have to look under the hood.
And here it is. This is the central puzzle of Sinners. How on earth do you make a film that's a soulful historical journey into the Delta Blues, a tough-as-nails gangster flick, and a straight-up brutal vampire movie? It sounds like it should be a total mess, right? But somehow, that absolutely wild mix is the secret to the whole thing. So let's start by trying to untangle what this film even is, because this isn't just a movie that kind of blends genres. It throws them all into a blender with incredible confidence and creates something totally new.
I mean, just look at this list. You could call it a Southern Gothic film. Yep. A supernatural horror movie? For sure. A musical where the songs are basically a main character? Absolutely. It's a gangster film. It's an immersive period drama. Coogler didn't just stitch these together. He wove them so tightly that it feels like they were always meant to be one thing.
And that brings us to the big question, the one we're really here to answer. In a world of sequels and superheroes, how did a movie this original, this weird, this R-rated, not only get made with a huge budget, but turn into a global hit? Well, the answer really starts with one person.
To get Sinners, you have to get Ryan Coogler's motivation. This wasn't just another job for him. No, this was something else entirely. This was personal.
You see, this whole gigantic, ambitious idea really comes from a simple human place. Coogler wanted to honor his uncle and his deep love for the blues. The film's cinematographer, Autumn Gerald Arkapaw, said it herself. That emotional anchor, that love for the music and the history behind it, that was the North Star for the entire production.
And just think about the jump he made. He comes off of directing Black Panther, a massive PG-13 franchise-defining blockbuster, and he cashes in all that clout to make this, a completely original, deeply personal, R-rated genre movie. It was a huge, huge creative gamble.
Okay, so having the vision is one thing, but actually bringing it to life on screen, that takes a whole other level of skill. So for this next part, let's look at how Coogler and his crew didn't just tell a story. They literally built a time machine back to the 1930s. And let's be clear, the studio really backed him up. They gave him a $90 million budget to make this happen. That kind of money let them recreate 1930s Mississippi with this incredible painstaking detail. This was never going to be some small indie flick. This was always meant to be an epic. And the team's ambition on the technical side was just insane. Autumn Gerald Arkapaw didn't just shoot a pretty movie. She literally made history. She was the first woman to do these things on this massive IMAX format, blending aspect ratios to create this totally immersive feeling. These weren't just stylistic choices. They were groundbreaking moves designed to pull you right into that world.
That need for authenticity went into every single piece of clothing. Legendary costume designer Ruth E. Carter based her work on the actual photographs of Eudora Welty, who documented real people in that era. The point wasn't to look like a Hollywood movie. It was to feel real, to capture the soul and the dignity of the people who lived that life.
And then you have the music. It's the beating heart of the whole film. Composer Ludwig Göransson used what's called an ethnographic approach. Basically, he became a musical archaeologist, digging into the history of Delta blues, using vintage instruments, and building a sound that felt both totally authentic to the period and somehow supernatural. So, we've seen how this incredible world was built, but now we need to talk about what it all means. Because, yeah, the vampire stuff is awesome and scary, but Sinners is using its monsters to talk about something much, much bigger. So what's the deal here? Are the vampires just, monsters to be killed? Not even close. Coogler is using this classic horror trope to explore a threat that was very, very real. This quote from The Ringer just hits the nail on the head. The main villain doesn't just want to drink people's blood, he wants to drain their entire culture. The vampirism in this film is a metaphor, a really powerful one, for cultural appropriation. It's about a predator trying to suck the very soul out of a community.
And this detail right here just lays it all out so brilliantly. The vampires use this ancient predatory gold. And what are the patrons of the juke joint using? Plantation tokens.
basically company's script that was a real tool used to keep sharecroppers in debt. It makes it crystal clear this is a fight not just for their lives, but for their economic and cultural soul.
So you've got this deeply personal, genre-smashing, thematically brilliant film. Did the big gamble pay off? Oh yeah, it paid off big time. Let's look at the shockwaves Sinners sent through the industry.
The numbers really do speak for themselves. It was made for $90 million, and it brought in over $367 million around the world. This proved it wasn't just some niche art film. It was a genuine 4-quadrant blockbuster that proved the audiences are dying for something new.
And all that money wasn't just from good marketing. The movie was a critical darling. A 97% on Rotten Tomatoes? That's practically unheard of. It means almost every single critic who saw it loved it. So, of course, all of that success has the awards buzz going crazy. The film is a serious contender for the Oscars, not just in the technical categories where it's a shoo-in, but for the big ones, Best Director for Coogler, and maybe, just maybe, Best Picture.
Which brings us to our final thought. Sinners proved you can make a giant blockbuster that's also art, a personal story that also plays to a huge crowd, a history lesson that's also a terrifying horror movie. So, by breaking all the rules, has Ryan Coogler accidentally created a whole new blueprint for what a modern blockbuster can be? That's a question Hollywood is going to be asking for a long time.